In this video, an ex-Muslim explained how he came to found Christ. In his dream, he saw the narrow door Christ talked about in the book of Luke chapter 13 from verse 24 and 25. And he said, strive to enter through that narrow door. For many, I tell you, will seek to enter and will not be able. When once the master of the house has risen and shut the door, and you begin to stand outside and to knock at the door, saying, Lord, open to us, then he will answer you, I do not know where you come from. Now, let's listen to him.
So not only was it me practicing Islam, but they had also kind of taught me to defend myself against Christianity. And that's a common thing for Muslims around the world to come to the West with. And so growing up then, I was a devout Muslim, yes, but I was also trained with arguments to challenge and respond to the gospel. And I realized that the other kids didn't really own their faith. Yeah, they might call themselves Christian, yeah, they might go to church, but that didn't affect the way they lived. It didn't affect the way they thought. I would challenge people on the gospel. Friends would say to me, Nabil, do you know Jesus? And of course, Muslims have a very developed view of Jesus. They believe he's the Messiah. They believe that he's a miracle-working man. He's sinless. Muslims believe Jesus is going to come back at the end of times. And so I would have a script ready to give, and I would challenge people on their view of Jesus.
And by the way, how did Christians generally do when you did challenge them on their faith?
Miserably. What I realized very early on was that even the slightest challenge on the Bible, on the reliability or the compilation of the Bible, or on Jesus' deity, or on the Trinity especially, no one really knew more.
This is so true about every Muslim, especially those that goes to some form of Quranic school. I can tell you, as far back as 30 years ago, I started defending Christianity the little way I could, because my friends, there many of whom were Muslims, were always antagonizing the Bible. They always tell you Christianity is this, Christianity is that. Muhammad was prophesied. Imagine, like, I've started hearing that since when I was little, that Muhammad was prophesied as being the coming comforter by Jesus. How preposterous. There's a need for us parents to teach our children ourselves, or there's a need for us parents to ensure our children are grounded in the principles of Christianity, else they will lose the way. They will leave the straight path. They will leave the path that leads to heaven and follow that wide road that leads straight to hell because of the teachings of false prophets and false religionists, like all Muslims are. There's a need for us to consciously do that.
More than just enough to say what they were told to say. They didn't really know why they believed what they believed, didn't know how to defend it. And so as part of me honoring Islam, I would challenge Christians. Because you see, Muslims see the Trinity as polytheism, and that's offensive to Muslims. And so in so challenging one specific Christian for the first time, and this is when I was a freshman in college, for the first time someone was able to actually respond to my challenge. And I realized this guy not only knows some information about his faith, but he actually cares about his faith. And so we developed this friendship that resulted from me challenging him on the Bible. And that's how I began to get introduced to the power and truth of the gospel. Islam very clearly denies some things about Jesus. Yes, Jesus is miracle working, he's the Messiah, but it denies that he ever died on the cross. It denies that he ever claimed to be God. And if he never died on the cross, how did he rise from the dead? So Islam denies the death, deity, and resurrection of Jesus. The very three things Islam denies, you have to believe in order to be saved. And so for me, it was a matter of trying to prove that those things didn't happen in order to establish the case for Islam. Well, as I was trying to disprove those things, I realized the evidence for Jesus' death, deity, and resurrection was very strong. So in this dream, I was standing at the threshold of a narrow door. And this door was just wide enough to fit me and just tall enough to fit me. I mean, in my dream, it was like, wow, this door is narrow. And at the other side of this doorway was a room that was set with a feast. And people were sitting down in nice clothes at these round tables, and it was like a wedding feast. And I knew in my dream that that room was heaven. I wanted to get into that room, but I couldn't, because at the other end of the doorway was my friend David. Now, he wasn't blocking me per se, he was looking forward. In fact, all the people in the room were looking forward, waiting for the owner or the speaker to come and start the event. But I couldn't get in because he was blocking the way, and so I looked at him and I said, David, I thought we were going to eat together. And he says, you haven't responded. And in the dream, right there, I knew I needed to respond to the invitation David was giving me in order to come into heaven. But this is where it got crazy. When I woke up, I told my friend David the dream. And he said, Nabil, this dream is so clear. Just go to Luke chapter 13. And I went to Luke 13 for the first time. I had never been to Luke 13 before. And when I opened it up, there was a section there that was titled The Narrow Door. When I saw it, my heart just stopped.
I bet it did, yeah.
And I'm going to paraphrase it. Basically, what it says is Jesus was going through the towns and villages preaching the good news. And the disciples said, Lord, are many going to be saved? And he said, make every effort to enter through that narrow door, because many will try and few will be able. And you will see people sitting inside at the feast of the kingdom of heaven. Make every effort to enter before the owner comes and closes that door. And so I knew that God had given me a dream straight out of the Bible. And he placed me inside a parable, showed me exactly where I was. And he left my decision up to me. It was very clear for me at that point what I needed to do.
To this channel, please hit the subscribe button right away. Like this video, leave your thoughts in the comment section. We need to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth. Thank you.